Today I'm going to show you how you can add an extra 10 miles an hour to your serve using this very specific sequence of movements that every single top player uses. Stick around to the end of the video where I'm going to show you how you can work on this unique movement by yourself on the tennis court. How do we get more power on our serve? This is something as tennis players that we're all striving for. We want to get a dominant serve. And if you look at the top players in the world, what do you see? You see how they're all able to generate so much power off that wing, and it allows them to be very dominant in their service games. The way you generate power, however, it's all about your ability to generate racket head speed. Now, how do you generate more racket head speed? The way you generate racket head speed is all about how you coil and pre-stretch the muscles before contact. Very important. A good analogy for this, imagine you have an elastic band. When you pull an elastic band to its maximum stretch point, what happens when you release? There's a reaction in the opposite direction. The same applies when you use your body segments throughout the swing on either your ground strokes or your serve. What you want to do is you want to pre-stretch the right muscle groups on your serve and also on your ground strokes. And when you pre-stretch these muscle groups, you store energy in the muscles. And then when that pre-stretch is released, that results in that racket head speed before contact. But the question is, what position is related to this on the serve? The position is what we call the racket drop position. Prior to contact, you'll see every single professional player get into this position here, where from the back angle, you can see how the racket is aligned on the right side of my body. From the side, you can see the elbow is approximately at ear level and it's leading out in front. And also my hand is level with the elbow. Tip of the racket is low in relation to my body. Now, when you get to this position here, you now pre-stretch the front part of the shoulder and chest muscles. And when you pre-stretch these muscles, when the energy is released after contact, there's your racket head speed. But what if there was a simple way to get into this racket drop position? What many players fail to realize, every single top player completes a very specific sequence of movements before the racket drop that really makes it so much easier to get into this all-important power position. And this movement is what we refer as the right to left arm action. Now, you've probably seen videos on this from us where we talk about the right to left, but before we even get into it, just remember that when we speak about the right to left, it's always in relation to the tennis court. So there's 4 different directions your racket can move in. You have the right side, which would be the right side fence. You have the left side, which would be left side fence. In front of you is the net, and behind you is the back fence. So just keep that in mind when we talk about now the right to left arm action. Now, before you even initiate what we call the right to left arm action, you have to get into what we call the half serve position. And this is something you'll see with every top player. What does that look like? It looks something like this, where the tip of the racket, after they release the ball on the ball toss, tip of the racket will point approximately to what would be the right side fence for a right-handed player. Left-handed player, same thing, it's just going to be the left side fence. The elbow is going to be approximately just below shoulder level. The elbow is not going to be too low and it's not going to be too high. It's going to be somewhere just below shoulder level. And I'm going to have a slight bend in my hit and arm. That's the half serve position. Now that we've established this good half serve position, now it's time to initiate what we call this right to left arm action. But what I want you to envision here, I want you to split the right to left up into 2 components. The first component is the right component. The second is the left component. Now, first let's talk about this right component. What happens from this half serve position? What you're going to do from here, you're going to initiate the right to left by bending at the elbow. Watch this movement. See how from the half serve position, I just bend at the elbow and the edge of my racket moves to my head, and I'm now initiating this right to left. A very good analogy for this, imagine that you're saluting like the soldiers do in the army. It's the same movement. If all of you do this right now, see how when you salute, it's coming from the elbow bending. That's really what's initiating this movement. So just envision that when you add your racket to your hand, envision that you're bending and you're saluting. It's the same movement. So in summary, looking from the back angle, you see that from here, I complete the right component by just bending at the elbow. Now, when I'm in this position, I've completed the right component of the right to left. Now it's time to talk about the left component. What's going to happen from here? When the racket is approximately above my head, my body is also going to start to be fully coiled at this point. Now from here, I'm going to begin to drive from the ground. When I begin to drive from the ground, my elbow is going to lead. When my elbow leads, look what happens to my racket head. Where's the tip of my racket now pointing? It's pointing to the left side. And there's your right to left. Look at that again. So from the half serve, I complete the right component by bending at the elbow. Now when the racket is moving over my head, I begin to drive from the ground, the elbow leads. There's the tip of the racket pointing to the left side. And now I just allow the racket to continue down into that racket drop. And that's why the right to left is so important. It allows the racket to move in the right manner, so it facilitates this all-important racket drop position. And that's something, if you look at the pros in super slow motion, you'll see them all complete this right to left action. So now that we know how important this right to left is, how are you going to go out and work on this? The way you work on it, you have to just start with some shadow swings. And what I want you all to try out is do some shadow swings in front of a mirror or a reflection, so you can visibly see what's going on. And just isolate the serve, start in the half serve position, and just go two components. Think you salute, then lead. And then just stop in the racket drop position and hold. And again, go to your half serve position. You salute. The salute is related to the right component of the right to left. And then when you lead, that's the left component. So salute, lead. And there's the racket drop. And just do that in front of a mirror or a reflection and repeat it until you're comfortable that you can do it without thinking about it so much. So it's more natural for you. Once you're comfortable, then you can try to incorporate it into the full service swing. But what you have to do at this stage is don't move too quickly throughout the swing. Go slow so you can actually visibly see what's going on. When I'm doing it from a first person perspective, I'm looking to see where the tip of my racket is pointing so I can watch it. I can see where it moves and I can see the racket drop. And I'm very aware of what's going on with my racket head. And just do that a few times within the shadow swing. Then once you're comfortable with that, then I would highly encourage you, add some dummy ball tosses. With a dummy ball toss, what you'll do, start in an isolated position again, half serve position. You're not going to hit the ball here. You're just going to dummy the ball toss up so it's more realistic. So it looks like this. You'll just dummy, then you'll bend and lead. Half serve, dummy, bend, lead. And when you're doing this, it's now very important, what I'd encourage you to do, set up a tripod, get a camera and film yourself so you can see what you're doing. Because as soon as you add this dummy ball toss in, many of you will go to something like this. You'll start off well, but then you may look something like this where the tip of the racket may go behind you, or you may start to open up the racket face. These different things will start to creep in. So it's vitally important that you're consciously aware of what you're reinforcing when you're working on new technique. After working with the dummy ball toss, then of course you can start to hit the ball. But again, when you hit the ball, the last thing you want to do is just go to this baseline and try to do it serving into the service box. What I want you all to do instead, go inside the court, start in your isolated position, and before you toss the ball, check your half serve position and ensure for a right-handed player, tip of the racket is pointing to the right side. Left-handed player is pointing to the left. And as you release the ball, all I want you to focus on is bending at the elbow. That's it. And that's going to initiate the right to left. So it looks something like this. Half serve, bend, swing. Show you that again. I double check my position, all looks good. Now I just think of bending at the elbow after I release. Bend and swing. Show you one more. Half serve, bend and swing. And I'm not trying to kill the ball here. I'm going at a speed that allows me to maintain focus on the mechanics. So to summarize this video, to get more power on the serve, we need to pre-stretch the appropriate muscle groups prior to contact. For the serve, that position is what we call the racket drop position. Now, how do we get into that racket drop easier? What we have to work on, we have to trace the motion back to the half serve position and work on this right to left arm action with the racket head. If you can get a better right to left, you're going to get a better racket drop. So please go ahead, give this a try, work on it and be conscious of it. Let us know how it goes in the comments below. And also feel free to like and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this in the future.